गिरिम् यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् परमानन्दमाधवम् श्री कृष्ण कन्हैया लाल की जय। प्रणाम to everyone. Now we are doing chapter 4 of Shrimad Bhagvatgita. Just to recapitulate quickly what we did in the last class, we have already seen in this chapter, which is the chapter dealing with the transcendental knowledge. So, beginning of the chapter, we saw that Sri Krishna says to Arjuna that this knowledge is the transcendental knowledge, which means the knowledge which has the power to go beyond the perishable arena. And Krishna says to Arjuna that I have already given this knowledge to Vivaswan and Ikshvaku, the beginning of the creation. However, it could not continue because every time a new king used to come, he may not be worthy enough to receive the knowledge. So this knowledge did not continue generation after generation. That is why today I am going to give you this transcendental knowledge, O Arjuna. And in this, the main message that Sri Krishna gives is regarding the importance of knowledge. He says that if you understand Karma Yoga, which means how do we conduct our actions, then we are controlling our actions by understanding that whether should I do the action or not. If there is no understanding involved, if there is no awareness at all, we keep on doing our actions, isn't it? Shri Krishna therefore explains action in inaction. He also explains inaction in action. So we went into a little depth with these concepts. Please understand the bottom line of action in inaction and inaction in action is that sin is not in the action, sin is in the mind. So if there is sin in the mind, with that sinful mind, if you keep on doing your actions, what are you earning for yourself? Sins after sins. But if there is no sin in the mind, it's pure. No matter what action you do, it will not create any sin, and therefore there will be no bondages of karmas or actions. So Shri Krishna very well explained all these things to Arjuna, and now that Shri Krishna is going to explain the various types of yajnas to Arjuna. The very first thing that I'm going to ask you people is that, have you seen there is a sacrificial fire, and in which in Gujarati આપણે કહીએ હોમવાનું હોય, ઘી નાખવાનું હોય, પછી વિભિન્ન સામગ્રીઓમાં હોમ કરવાની હોય. So there is a yajna fire. It is called the sacrificial fire. Have you ever seen that view? Whether maybe in picture or in reality? Yeah. How about Sangeeta? Have you seen it ever? The yajna fire? Not even in the images? Okay, fine, no issues. A yajna fire is where all the mantras are read out, and in the name of gods, the celestial gods, offerings are made. So they use things like ghee, rice, and so many other things, which they constantly keep on putting in that sacrificial fire, and that sacrificial fire goes on increasing, flaring up more and more and more. Finally, at the end of that uh, ceremony, that fire will keep on burning for quite a few days. The idea is that after the fire stops burning, whatever remains are there, that has to be taken as prasad. And let me tell you, this is called yajna. But yajna could be of many various types. So Sri Krishna tells us in chapter 4 how many types of yajnas could be there. One yajna is using the material things like rice and, as I said, ghee is used, and all those things are put as sacrificing the offerings to celestial gods. And this is how a sacrifice, a yajna, is performed. At the second level, there are so many other people who offer their sensuous pleasures in the yajna because they are sacrificing it. There are so many others who sacrifice many other vikars or many other distortions within themselves into that sacrificial fire. So if you notice, from material things, the sacrifices are up to the abstract things like sensuous pleasures and so many other things. So I will just give you a brief of what all can be sacrificed in the name of gods. The first thing is the material offerings, of course, rice, ghee, etc. That all can be given as the offering. What more? The other things are like hearing or any senses, whatever pleasures they experience, that also can be sacrificed. There are still some other people who sacrifice their wealth into the yajna. There are many others who offer severe austerities as the sacrifice in the sacrificial fire. Many others practice Ashtanga Yoga Bhakti, the eightfold worship. And finally, they sacrifice even that in the fire. So if you see, there are a range of activities which can be sacrificed. Shri Krishna explains that from material things till abstract things, so many sacrifices can be made. And then, after having explained all the various types of sacrifices that we just now discussed, finally Sri Krishna tells everyone which is the best type of sacrifice. And now Sri Krishna says that the best sacrifice that can be performed is the sacrifice performed in knowledge. So, we can use material things as offerings to the celestial gods. However, when our actions are performed in knowledge, that is the best method of sacrifice that we can make. Those who do this will be cleansed of their impurities. And Sri Krishna now starts explaining how powerful knowledge is. So, today's topic, we start off by saying the various types of sacrifices that can be made, and the best among them is the sacrifice in knowledge. So, let us understand. Now, Sri Krishna starts explaining how can a sacrifice in knowledge be made? What is he talking about? So he says, the first step in this sacrifice is acquiring the transcendental knowledge. So first of all, how can you make a sacrifice in knowledge, you should have that knowledge at least first. So the very first step is acquiring transcendental knowledge. Having said this, is it easy? Is it like going to school? Or is it easy like going to any college and asking for knowledge? Sri Krishna says that it is not that easy, because to acquire transcendental knowledge, what all do you need? You need not be admitted to any school, first of all. But he says that you need faith, you need humility. Because if you do not have humility, you will not be able to approach your Guruji, the realized master. You will not be able to go to him and tell him that, Guruji, I am desirous of acquiring this knowledge. Please pour your knowledge into me. So that humility should be there in the heart to be able to ask our Guruji, the realized master of our life, that I am yearning for that transcendental knowledge. Please give it to me. So the very first thing, there should be faith in the heart, isn't it? So Krishnaji says that the very first thing you need is faith and humility. Because if you have to approach a reverent master, you need both of them. Now, he goes further in little more detail, and he says that you have to learn the spiritual truth only from a realized master. Make sure. As a simple example, if you want to learn singing, you will have to go to a proficient singer. If you want to learn dancing, go to a proficient dancer. So those who have practiced it themselves, they have been doing it since years. They're very well versed in it. You will go to such people. In the same manner, when you want to acquire transcendental knowledge, to whom should you go? You have to approach a realized master, the one who has not only acquired the transcendental knowledge himself, but has also got the glimpses through that knowledge. Only then he will be able to pass that knowledge on to you. So Sri Krishna says that the very first thing that you have to keep in mind is approach a realized master who can give you this transcendental knowledge. Now, when you go to such a realized master, what are you supposed to do? Will you go and stand just like that without doing anything? And should he on his own start giving you the transcendental knowledge? That is not possible, isn't it? So, there is a method which Sri Krishna has given in Gita. He says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati. That whenever you go to a realized master and there is a yearning in you that I want to get knowledge from him, first of all, either you can take a leaf or a flower, some water. If there is nothing with you, just take water. But do not go empty handed. He is talking 5,000 years before. So, as per today, we need to understand that whenever we approach that realized master, we need not go empty handed. You can take anything that can please the realized master. You can just offer your pranam to him, and with extreme humility, you have to place your question in front of him and request him that Please answer my question, O saint, O Guruji. And when you place your question in this manner, only then he will be able to understand the yearning inside you. So, how do we approach a realized master? Is with great humility, reverence in our heart. And do not go empty handed. Give something as an offering, be it any small little thing like a flower or little water, but do not go empty handed. So, in this manner, Shri Krishna has also taught Arjun how do you approach a realized master. He now says that you should also give service, which means you should also do seva of that reverent person. Because if you do seva, then it makes sense to that realized master that my disciple is interested in getting knowledge from me. A very simple example. When our Guruji, Sri Jagatguru Acharya Sri Krishna Manuji Maharaj comes to our place, what do we need to do? We have to give him all the amenities possible that he can live very nicely and comfortably. We need to give him modes of transportation. We need to do seva in so many fronts. So, what I'm trying to say is, seva is of great importance. Our attitude of seva pleases the Guru, and then he gives you that knowledge which is there within him. So, here, Sri Krishna has given the importance of doing service to the saint or to that reverent realized master from whom you want to acquire knowledge. Having said this, now he says, go ahead and make your inquiry. Because there is a question in our mind to acquire that transcendental knowledge. So place your question with great respect and humility. That's how Sri Krishna is guiding Arjuna. Now, there is a shloka in Bhagvatgita, that is the 35th shloka, that is the 35th verse of Shrimad Bhagvatgita, and he says that very, very important teaching. Please listen. Or I should copy paste it for you. Listen. I'll just do that. Allow me just a minute. I will copy paste it for you. Yeah. So this is what I'm talking about. If you can see, it's verse 4.35. That is the 35th verse, which says that following this path and having achieved enlightenment from a guru, what is the importance? Shri Krishna says that you will no longer fall into delusion. All of us, without knowledge, are falling in the cycle of birth and death every time, struggling every time, because we are deluded by this Maya. So, Shri Krishna is telling Arjun, what is the importance of getting this transcendental knowledge? That your mind becomes firm in that knowledge. And therefore, you are not going to be deluded after that. In the light of that knowledge, you will see that all living beings are part of that supreme divine personality. And just as I am the spark of that supreme divine personality, Sri Krishna, each and every creature in this world is also a spark of that supreme divine personality himself. Having understood this, the fights which may exist between us will come to an end, because now we realize, just as I am a spark of that divine consciousness, so and so every other creature is also a part of that divine consciousness. So why do we fight among each other? Therefore, a person who gets this knowledge will thus not be deluded and see that every creature is a spark of the divine consciousness only. So this understanding will dawn in us. That is why getting or acquiring this transcendental knowledge is considered very important by Sri Krishna. Does it make sense? Any doubts, any questions? Okay, good. Now, in the next verse, Sri Krishna is explaining the purifying power of this transcendental knowledge. Now, having to understand this purifying power of the transcendental knowledge, we will appreciate that why should we go and acquire this knowledge? Why do we take the pains of acquiring this knowledge? So let me just put it up for you here, and that will really help us because we understand the purifying power of this transcendental knowledge that Sri Krishna is talking about. So you can see, I have just copy pasted the third point, purifying power. This knowledge, the transcendental knowledge which Krishna is talking about in this chapter, it acts like a powerful fire. And what is the use of that fire? All the karmic actions that we perform, all those actions can be put in that fire and they will extinguish. Because they extinguish, their results are also extinguished. And therefore, the results will no more cause a binding upon the soul. If the results would have persisted, they would have caused a binding on the soul. The soul would have had to experience the fruits of its own karmas, good or bad. For instance, many a times we experience that we are undergoing some suffering. We may undergo some pains, whether physical, mental, and we think that I have not done any wrong to any person, then why am I getting this pain and these sufferings? However, let me tell you, all this is the result of karmic actions, which means the karmas that we performed in the past. These karmas are like a boomerang. If you throw the boomerang in the air, it goes away. It flies away from your hands, but it will come back to you, that's for sure. So whether you are performing a good action, the fruit of that action will also accrue. Similarly, if one performs a wrong or a bad action, the fruit of that also will accrue and come back to you. Whether it comes back immediately or in some other birth is a different question. But it will come back for sure. And this applies for one and all. So the idea to give away all the actions in that fire of knowledge is that the results out of those actions will not accrue, and you will not have to endure the results, good or bad, arising from the past actions. So, is this concept clear? Do you have any questions regarding this? Pranay, is it okay? Is it clear for you? Okay, good. Now, further, Shri Krishna is telling Arjun that he gives an example. Just as when the fire is kindled, it will reduce wood to ashes. In the same way, when this fire of knowledge is lit up, in that, when you put the actions, your karmas into that as a sacrifice, all those actions will also turn into ashes. They will also extinguish. Now, when the actions no more are remnant, then the fruits of those actions will also not have to be borne by you. Otherwise, without putting your actions into that fire of knowledge, so many actions are performed by us every second, every day in our life, every year in our life, and in the entire life, given in so many births, so many actions are performed by us. When the results of those actions come back to us, many a times, it is really, really painful, very difficult to endure those fruits. Hence, the idea is that all those actions have to be burnt away in the fire of knowledge so that the fruits of those actions will not come back to you. You will not have to endure them or endure the sufferings arising of that. Now he says that knowledge serves as a sturdy boat, and sitting in which you will be able to cross over the worldly ocean. He has given two examples. Knowledge in the form of fire, so he calls it the fire of knowledge. Then he says that knowledge will serve like a sturdy boat in which you can sit and cross over the worldly ocean. So this is why knowledge is so important, has got an amazing purifying power within it. Let me tell you, you all must have experienced since maybe a last couple of years, we have been joining and we've been having these sessions. Every time you get to know something about Sri Pramana Ji, Sri Krishna Ji, Sri Sadhguru Ji, or anything about Gita, that will create the illumination inside you. When that illumination is created, it is nothing but the fire of knowledge. Therefore, the actions, the karmas, they automatically extinguish in the fire of knowledge. Another advantage is that because you're enlightened, in future, now you understand, I should not perform wrong actions. Therefore, you become more cautious about it. Earlier, We're of the mindset or we're of the view that who's going to see me? If I do any wrong action, nobody will come to know. But having understood this transcendental knowledge of Gita, we also come to know that He is the all knowing, He is the Almighty. He knows whatever good or bad that we are doing. Even when we may be doing in the corner of our room, corner of our house, or any other place, any vacant or silent place, He knows about it. So, that Krishna consciousness is following us every time, right? Therefore, we come to know that whatever actions we may perform are observed by the Lord. So we become aware. And therefore, our wrong actions that we will conduct in the future will be converted to quite a great extent. Okay? Now, after having explained this, I'm going one shloka, one verse before, because I have given you 4.37, the message, underlying message in 4.37. But now I'm going to go back to 4.36, because in this, Shri Krishna says that even those who are considered the most immoral of all sinners, even they can occupy this boat of knowledge and can cross over the worldly ocean. So, for the most immoral sinners also, this boat of knowledge is always available. What do we understand from this? That knowledge at any point of your life can change your life, can change your future. It is that important, it is that powerful. No matter at what age you are, but when you start getting the knowledge, it will start entering into you and transforming you. Let me give you a glaring example of a dacoit called Ratnakar. I think you all may have heard of this story, but I'm going to repeat it in any case. There was a dacoit called Ratnakar. He used to kill people for money, for things that they had. He used to target forest areas. In the olden days, in India especially, people used to travel across the forests. So they used to be in groups. He would see to it that he will loot the entire group of people, and he will steal away all the things which are there with the group and finally also kill them. That dacoit Ratnakar used to do this to one and all. One day, Narad Muni happened to cross that forest. And when Narad Muni was there, Ratnakar caught hold of Narad Muni also. So when he catches hold of Narad Muni ji, he says that I am the devotee of Sri Krishna. Why are you catching hold of me? And finally, he says to Ratnakar, whatever sins you are performing, for whom are you doing all this? So Ratnakar replies, I'm doing all this for my children, for my parents and my wife, my entire family. So Narad Muni asked him to go and ask parents, wife, and children that whatever sins that he was performing for their good, for their earning livelihood for them, will they partake in enduring the results of the sins that he is incurring? So Ratnakar was astonished. He said that you are telling me all these things because you want to run away from here. But I will not allow you to run away. So Naradji himself suggests that you take a rope Tie me with a tree. I will not run away anyway. You go home, you ask, and you come back. So Ratnakar dacoit did the same thing. He went home. He asks his parents that I am performing so many sins by killing people, looting their things, and all this is for giving you a very good way to live life. In all my sins, are you going to help me when the results of the sins will accrue? Then will you take part in enduring the sins that I have incurred? So the parents on his face say that we are not going to participate in that. It is your duty to feed us. So why should we partake in your sins? Very selfishly, the parents denied that they are going to be a part of enduring the sins. Now Ratnakar felt really bad. He goes to his wife and says, "You are my better half. I've been doing so much to, dress you up beautifully and to give you all the decorations and everything. So when finally my sins will accrue and I will get the fruits of the sins, will you be there with me to endure the fruits?" The wife also says, "No, my husband, although I am your better half, but I will not help you at all in enduring the results of the sins." So he felt really bad about this, goes to his children, asks the same question. They also replied, "Why should we partake in enduring the sins that you have incurred? It is your duty to look after us." So when he sees all of them are not responding that they will help me in enduring the sins, then why should I incur the sins at all? He goes running to the forest, goes down to Narad Muniji, who is the devotee of Sri Krishna, and says, "You have opened my eyes. Nobody is there supporting to endure the fruits of my sins. To whom am I incurring those sins?" So now Narad Muniji tells him that finally give up this job of the dacoit. Why are you killing so many people, incurring so much of sins? So he gave up that thought of becoming a dacoit and he transformed to an ordinary person. However, what about the sins that he had already performed? The fruits of those sins had to come up. So Naradji tells him that all the sins which you have performed, they will extinguish when in the fire of knowledge you will put all those sins and they will turn into ashes. But how do you do that? So Naradji teaches Ratnakar that you keep on chanting the name of the Lord. But since he was a sinner, he could not do that. And Ratnakar, when he tried to say the name of Ram, he could not utter it. And that is why now Naradji gave him another option. He says, don't say Ram, say the reverse of Ram. What is the reverse of Ram? Mara. Ram nu ultu karo, Mara. And what is Mara? Because he's always been killing people, isn't it? So it is easy for him to say Mar gaya, Mara, Mara, Mara. So Naradji strategically, deliberately made him say Mara, 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 Mara. Keep on saying that. Finally, that came out to be Ram, 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 Ram. So in the reverse order also, the name of the Lord is so powerful that all the sins that were performed by Ratnakar turned into ashes. the transformation took place, whom we know as the Saint Valmiki. He is the author of Ramayana. You all may have heard of two epics, Mahabharata and Ramayana. Ramayana is where the entire life journey of Sri Ram has been written. So that was written by Valmiki. He was Ratnakar. So you can imagine the transformation that has taken place from Ratnakar to an ordinary person, and from an ordinary person to a saint like Valmiki who can write an epic like Ramayana. That is the power of knowledge. So Shri Krishna says, you have to acquire that transcendental knowledge so that all the sins will extinguish in the fire of knowledge. And a glaring example is that of Ratnakar, who was a sinner, the most immoral sinner you can say. When a person like Ratnakar, a middle age as he was in, got transformed into a saint, we are just ordinary people. We also can get transformed because of knowledge, isn't it? So that is the power of knowledge. That's what we are supposed to understand. So Sri Krishna says that knowledge is nothing but it is a boat, a sturdy boat. You acquire knowledge, and because of that sturdy boat of knowledge, you will be able to transcend the worldly ocean. So now he's already said that, the what do you call, the immoral of all sinners can also transcend the worldly ocean. Then as ordinary people, we are not that level of sinners. But for us also, this boat of knowledge is always available. And we should only try to acquire knowledge, because that knowledge will help all the actions, all the karmas extinguish. Therefore, they do not create any bondage upon you. Now, in the next verse, that is the 38th verse of Bhagavad Gita, in the chapter 4, Shri Krishna says that, Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitramiha vidyate. There is no other best purifier than knowledge in this world. It is powerful. It is the best of all purifiers. You need not do anything. You just have to purify your mind with the help of this knowledge. Imagine one day, if we do not clean our room, if we do not sweep the floor, dust starts accumulating. If for 10 days you're not there at home and you're not able to clean the house, for 10 days that dust will keep on accumulating. And finally, when you do it on the 11th day, it becomes really difficult because it takes more time and more effort to clean the room. But if you're doing it on a day-to-day basis, it becomes very easy because the accumulation of dust is very little and you can handle it. Similarly, the karmas that we perform, the actions that we perform, come with a fruit. When those fruits accumulate, it is difficult to endure them because there is a heap of fruits. Therefore, the fire of knowledge, when is lit, immediately the karmic actions will extinguish in that. And due to which, the fruits which are arising out of your actions will also extinguish. So Sri Krishna says that there is no other purifier as compared to knowledge. It's the best purifier. I would just like to give it to you, this point, because it's a very beautiful point. So let's note that. I will just copy paste it for you here. So I hope you'll have got this point of the 38th verse. It says that in this world, there is nothing as purifying as divine knowledge. One who has attained purity of mind through prolonged practice of yoga receives such knowledge within the heart. And in the due course of time, that knowledge will extinguish all the karmic actions that we have performed. Therefore, acquiring transcendental knowledge is of great importance. Also, the transcendental knowledge is nothing, it has nothing to do with the worldly knowledge that we get from school and college. This is the spiritual knowledge that Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita. So, I hope it's clear so far. Any doubts? So, let me proceed with one more point here. If we can see, the next point that we are going to is showing us the fact, the importance of deep faith, which we call as Shraddha. If you have a deep faith within you, then you will be able to acquire this knowledge. If you do not have that faith, you may not be able to appreciate why should I acquire knowledge. So, with deep faith in the mind, we can acquire the divine knowledge. Sri Krishna says, the one who acquires this divine transcendental knowledge will also get everlasting peace. So, if you have the divine knowledge, it leads you to everlasting peace. In this point, Sri Krishna also says that because of deep faith in you, what do you start doing? Restraining the mind and senses and harnessing your senses towards the goal of liberation. Finally, what do we want? We want liberation in Paramdham, isn't it? We do not want to go back revolving in the cycle of birth and death every time. We want to go to eternal peace in Paramdham. We want to be liberated there. So, for which we have to harness our senses and control them in such a way that even when the senses are moving, they move towards our goal. They are not deviated from the goal. So you're setting the goal for the senses, isn't it? Here, Sri Krishna says that with deep faith in your heart, in your mind, the senses will be able to, to follow or to achieve the goal that you have set for it. And with the help of this transcendental knowledge, they quickly attain the eternal peace because they will be liberated. If you do not have this transcendental knowledge, you will be left with doubts, with suspicions. Due to doubts and suspicions in your mind, in your heart, there is no deep faith. You cannot acquire knowledge. You're there with suspicions and doubts. Those doubts are also powerful enough to push you into the cycle of birth and death, isn't it? So Krishna says that is where we need knowledge. That knowledge will enlighten us, will show us the way to the goal, and we will be able to harness our senses and mind and focus them upon the goal rather than be deviated from the goal. So, with this idea, Sri Krishna is telling Arjun that why it is important to acquire this transcendental knowledge. Also, please reconnect every time. How do we acquire transcendental knowledge? I think that I should quickly ask you a few questions so that I am sure in my mind that you'll have uh, understood the bottom line or the message that Sri Krishna wanted to give. Should I ask these questions? Are you ready to answer? Let's see. Very simple questions I'm going to ask. Which is the best purifier in this world? Yeah, yes.
It's knowledge, no?
Yes, it is knowledge. Yes. Then, if we approach a guru to acquire knowledge from him, what qualities should we have?
We should have sincerity
Yes.
and desire for answers.
Yes, one more quality that
We should
I
have,
have tried to do.
we should have faith and humility.
Yes, very nice. One more thing. How do you place your question in front of the guru? Let me tell you. I think you all are very near, but maybe it did not strike you. Humility. Because it's very important to be humble enough when you go to a saint, a realized master. Without humility, he will not be able to give you that knowledge. So humility, that is the important quality which we're supposed to imbibe. Hmm. How do we place our question in front of that realized master? Should we go and argue, or how should we place our question?
You said with humility, right? Humility, right?
Humility. Exactly. But the way to question is that you frame that question. Humility is the way in which you want to present it. Frame the question, put it forth with a deep yearning inside you, and please request him that answer my question. Then that realized master or saint is going to give you the knowledge. Should we go empty handed to him? Never. Because that's not a way to go to a realized master. Every time that we go, please make it a point that we give something or the other as an offering. 5,000 years back, Sri Krishna says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, Yo me bhaktya prayachati. We have to offer either a flower or some water or a leaf or anything. In today's terms, what we think that we should offer, we should go and offer to that realized master. From whom can you acquire knowledge? Okay, yes, you want to try?
A realized master?
Yes, very important, because when a person is proficient in his knowledge, he can give you that knowledge. Otherwise, if he is not well versed in it in himself, then he will not be able to pass it on to you. Further, we also saw, how do you put the question? Sri Krishna gives example of fire, wood, and ashes, isn't it? How do we understand it in the case of the knowledge? I mean, the fire of knowledge. What is wood in that case?
The wood is the fruits of your actions, and that gets burned
Exactly.
with knowledge.
It's beautiful, very nice. Is the actions, the fruits of the actions, which will extinguish in the fire and will be turned to ashes, which is why it will not create any bondage upon the soul. Okay. Shri Krishna also tells Arjun in example 2, just as one example is the fire example, the other example is that of crossing over the worldly ocean. Krishna calls knowledge as what? To help you cross over the worldly ocean.
A boat, a steady boat.
Yes, he calls it a sturdy boat. So, occupying which you will be able to transcend the worldly ocean. Okay. And just now, as the last point we also discussed, when there is an element, when there is something in you, you can acquire the divine knowledge. What is that element? Just the last point which we discussed today.
Deep faith.
Deep faith. That's so deep faith is required to acquire transcendental knowledge. After you acquire transcendental knowledge, what does it give you?
Peace.
Yes. Peace, which is everlasting. Don't forget that. Because peace is also lasting. Peace could be non-lasting as well. But we are talking about the peace which is everlasting. That peace is only there in Paramdham. So Sri Krishna says that the everlasting peace can be achieved when you get this divine knowledge. What if a person does not acquire this divine knowledge? What do you think would happen to him?
They'll be filled with delusions and doubt.
It's beautiful. Very nice, Andy. They'll be filled with delusions and doubts. Okay. What if a person is filled with delusions and doubts?
Does that make them go back into the birth and death cycle?
That's correct. Because all that will create the bondages of karmas and will push them back into the cycle of birth and death. So very clearly, Sri Krishna explains the importance of this divine knowledge. If you take the divine knowledge, your doubts and suspicions are completely evaporated and you get everlasting peace. If you do not acquire this divine knowledge, you are left with the suspicions and doubts in the mind, and that causes you to go back to the cycle of birth and death. Is it clear? I hope it is clear with you. So, that is the importance of this knowledge. So, I hope today's points were clear in your mind. Still, many points are there in which Sri Krishna will explain the importance of this knowledge. But for today, I think we should round this up because we're done enough. And we have got it with clarity that why should we acquire divine knowledge? What is the importance of acquiring divine knowledge? Finally, just give me one small example of a sinner who crossed over the worldly ocean or who transformed due to this divine knowledge.
Was it Ratnakar?
Yes, who was he?
He was a thief who stole from others for his own gain.
Yeah, he was not a thief, huh? He was a dacoit actually.
The
He was to
quite.
kill. So, a sinner as immoral as Ratnakar was also liberated because of the fire of divine knowledge that was lit inside him by uh, the revered saint. What is the name of that saint? Do you remember? Who gave that knowledge to Ratnakar?
Naradji?
Yes, it was Naradji. Uh, what did he make him chant?
Mara, mara, mara.
Mara, 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 mara. So, in the reverse order, what did it come out to be?
Ram, 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 ram.
Ram, 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 Ram. So, because of which all the sins that he had incurred, all those were extinguished in the fire of that divine knowledge and understanding. So, let us call it a day. Let's say our final prayer. And um, still some more points to go with this in the chapter 4, which we will deal in the next class. And probably, I think that